Hi everyone, thank you for coming. This is a bit of an introduction to the new stuff in Yarn Spinner and kind of how to use it, but I'm also happy to theoretically be interrupted by the people in the room if you have something you would like to see at the back half of the talk. So let's see what happens. If somebody wants to interrupt me from online and can figure out how to do that, they're also welcome to do that. If you can find my phone, you can call it, so we'll see how that goes. I've called this talk Yarn Spinner Toolbox because it's kind of just a grab bag of things about how you can use Yarn Spinner, which is a narrative tool that we developed. So hi, I'm Paris. I've come a very long way to be here. This is where I'm from. I'm from Hobart in Tasmania, Australia, which I've come to learn the last few days is 10,232 miles from here. I'm not sure what a mile is, so if someone can tell me. I think it's Roman, right? Yeah. That's apparently a very long way, though. So I'm thrilled to be here. I came to NarraScope for the first time last year. I was originally going to attend online this year, and then I decided I had to come back. So I'm here. Very fun. And Tasmania is wonderful. You should visit. I'm here from a little team called Yarn Spinner. We make an open source suite of narrative and interactive fiction development tools that do all sorts of things and are increasingly growing. We think they're pretty nifty, and they're all human made, and we don't do AI. So if you're here for AI, please go away. I don't know. We've just started a flame war with someone in our Discord who's using AI to write his game. That's going somewhere at the moment. So no AI, please. We originally wrote Yarn Spinner for Scott Benson when we were working on Night in the Woods. So Yarn Spinner came about because Scott Benson doesn't want to really be a computer programmer, but wants to program computers. And therefore, we tricked him by writing a domain-specific programming language called Yarn Spinner, which kind of looks like a script. So this is not really any reason to crush each other. So we wrote it for Night in the Woods. It's expanded and expanded ever since. 2 years ago, we spun Yarn Spinner off from Secret Lab, which is the game development studio that I run, to its own company, so we could focus on it and ask the Australian government for money and arts funding and things, and that's been going really well. So Yarn Spinner is still free and open source, but now it's run by a company, so theoretically it's got some more solidity behind it. That's a good thing, we think. It's been used in lots of great games recently. This is just a sampling of some of the games that have been powered by Yarn Spinner in the last few years or are about to come out, in the case of Demon School, Wishlist Demon School. And Little Guardsman, I think. Well, no, that one's out now. We are really proud of the amount of games using Yarn Spinner. In fact, we were looking at Ludo Narracon recently from all the different games that came out, and it turns out that a lot of them use Yarn Spinner, which is very impressive. We kind of like stats like this because it proves we're doing the right thing and making a tool that means people who want to make games that we like can use it. And these are the kind of games that we like. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Cool. Oh yeah. Also in the various game showcases that just happened, there were lots of Yarn Spinner games. Yay. There's kind of three components to Yarn Spinner. I'm going to stop using the slides and actually do some of this stuff live because I'm a masochist. I do have some slides in case everything breaks, but I'm going to turn off the slides in a second as I show you these three components to Yarn Spinner. The first component is on the left. It is the scripting language, which we originally just called Yarn. Now we tend to call it Yarn Spinner script, but we don't really care what you call it. So it's the thing you write your dialogue in for making narrative stories, narrative video games, interactive fiction. The middle one is a screenshot of the Visual Studio Code marketplace showing our extension. Visual Studio Code is a programming editor that Microsoft makes. It was formerly pretty fantastic until they started adding all sorts of AI garbage to it. It's still really good, and we make an extension for it, but you have to turn off a lot of AI at the moment. So we're currently looking for alternative places to run our extension, which we're working on. But right now, Visual Studio Code plus our extension is the way you edit Yarn scripts. And it works great. I'll show you in a minute. And the final one is a snippet of Unity, just because I primarily use Unity when I build video games, but we work with Godot. We have a alpha or beta plugin for Unreal. We have a community-made plugin for Rust, which works in the Bevy game engine, and we have a JavaScript runner and a whole bunch of other things in the works. So those are kind of the three components of Yarn Spinner. I'm going to push the next button. This is a URL you can go to. It will work on your phone, but it will not look good or run nicely, because this is a whole Yarn Spinner interpreter in JavaScript. So if you have an actual computer, an iPad, or a tablet, this will run nicely. You can just go to try.yarnspinner.dev to get the normal experience, which is our live kind of playground, REPL, whatever you want to call it, where you can use the Yarn Spinner scripting language online. But if you put this hash at the end, you'll get the special script that I made today to teach you Yarn Spinner. Which one you choose is up to you. I'm going to be looking at the script that's at this URL live here. So if you want to kind of follow along what I'm doing, that's the one I'd suggest you go to. Yeah. This is not really part of the talk, but if you put a question mark instead of a hash and then it equals and then the ID of a GitHub gist, it will load the gist. So if you ever want to demo things to people the same way, that's a secret feature that's not actually documented anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to push hide on my slides now, and we're going to go here to my web browser. This is the Yarn Spinner team, by the way. We have two very cute dogs. They come to the office every day. Very cute. So this is try.yarnspinner.dev. Can everyone see that? Is that big enough? Yeah. Great. This is a online environment for learning to use Yarn Spinner. And basically, the Yarn Spinner code goes along the left side, and you'll see me scrolling it. And in the right, you can run it and play your conversation. So if I click run now, you'll see it does some stuff at the top, which I'm going to completely gloss over right now. And you can use comments. So we're going to look at the Yarn Spinner code a little bit here. So in Yarn Spinner, everything is inside a node. A node must have a title. In this case, we have a node called start. There can be no spaces in nodes names, but you can have underscores. So you can do like, but you can't have any spaces. So this node is called start. By default, not by default. The de facto first node for a Yarn program is called start, but is not required. Okay, so I'll mostly call it start because I've been doing it for years now. You don't have to call it start. You can do comments, pretty much how you'd expect. Those are just some URLs, so I get more social media followers and so on. We have some friendly people on our Discord that would love to talk to you if you're willing to join a Discord. Anyway, inside a node are lines, and each of these ones is a line. So we've got a line here that says, welcome to Yarn Spinner Toolbox and NarraScope in this session, and so on. Each single line is a line. You know, we're very original with our naming scheme. Lines are lines. Amazing. Yarn Spinner delivers lines one by one into some kind of view. In the case of try Yarn Spinner, the view is this thing on the right here. So if I click run to play the conversation, you'll see, welcome to the Yarn Spinner narrative toolbox at NarraScope. Welcome to the Yarn Spinner. Continue. The next line will deliver, and so on. Now, this view is set up to make me click continue after each line is delivered. If you were loading Yarn Spinner into a video game engine, you would do whatever you needed for the video game, and I'll show you how that works a little bit later. So if I click click and continue, you'll see we'll get to the end of this node. Right, so at the end of this node, this slash here, if you're not a programmer, this slash in front of the jump command escapes the jump command, so it doesn't run the jump command. There's an actual jump command on the next line. This is just a picture of a jump command. So I'm going to click continue, and it's going to jump to another node. So you'll see here we have a jump and then a node title. And right below it, we have another node. So this command here says, Yarn Spinner, please move the story to the node named whatever's in the thing. In this case, it's called another node. And you'll see over here, this particular view will expose that to you to tell you what's going on. So now I've jumped to another node. Rather creatively, it's called another node. We're inside it now. We can jump again if we want to, like this, and we're going to jump to yet another node. Now that's great. We can make a very fantastic linear story that way. And some people absolutely do use Yarn Spinner that way. But the true beauty of interactive fiction is it can kind of branch all over the place and do all sorts of crazy things. So not everyone necessarily gets the same experience. And the very base kind of feature that makes that possible is branching. And we branch in Yarn Spinner by using options. So I'm going to just zoom in on this so you can see it. I'm not sure if the zoom will be happening on the Discord, sorry. So for the people in the room, I am just zooming in on bits of the screen. I'm not sure Discord will be doing that. But I'm looking at the bottom right of the right side of the screen. So we're using options. Options mean the player can decide what happens next. Options let you show multiple potential lines and allow the player to choose. In Yarn Spinner, you use the symbol, which is just a dash with a pointy arrow, to show the options. So here we're going to do two options. I'd like a poem about options, or I'd like to keep learning Yarn Spinner. So if I choose the I'd like a poem about options, it will jump to, not yet, yeah. So it will just run the line after it in this case. So this is the option I just picked. I didn't pick this one, so this one wasn't used. But because there's nothing after those options, it's just going to keep moving down the list of lines in the middle of the next one. So in this case, it went, of course, options don't go anywhere super helpful. To make options go somewhere, we pair them with a jump command. So you then indent a jump command below an option. So you'll see here we have these options repeated. I'd like a poem about options, jump poem options. I'd like to keep learning Yarn Spinner, jump keep learning. I go very fast when I teach things, so hopefully everyone's paying attention. This should be pretty straightforward though. Okay, so here we have two options. One goes to one node, one goes to the other. Do we want a poem or do we want to keep learning? It's bad. I'm not a poet. There we go. So we just went through a bad poem. Here's the poem about options. And then we jumped to a keep learning node. So we actually ended up in the same place we would have got to if we just asked for no poem, right? Great. Usually the case with poetry in my experience. No, I like poetry. I lie. No. So Yarn Spinner also supports variables. Variables let you create and track state and then use that state to influence how your story moves along. We're going to declare a variable. So let's have a look. Here we've actually got a couple of things going on. I'm just going to let this complete. So it's saying, my name is Bob. and we've got a character name in the line now. Character name is actually nothing special in Yarn Spinner. If you prefix a line with something in a column, our tools will highlight that as if it's a character name, but there's no magic going on, and it's entirely up to you what you do with that. When you plug it into a game engine, you can pass that out and display it somewhere else, like a nameplate, or you can not. It's up to you. So it's fine to have lines without names. It's fine to have lines with names, whatever you want. So it's saying, my name is Bob, should I change it? And there's three options. Change it to Reginald, very modern, cutting edge name, Daisy, or keep it as is. And if you look over here, what we're actually doing is we've declared a variable named Bob, and then we're interpolating that variable into these lines from then on to declare this omniscient narrator character to have a name. So when we change it, we then use the set command to set name to one of those other names. And from then on, name will be interpolated as whatever name we've just chosen. So does anyone have a preference for what we're going to call this person? I heard Daisy first, so we're going to go Daisy. So Daisy is now Daisy. And then we're going to continue. So we can now stop if we wanted. This no let's end thing is kind of a little detour, just so you can see one command here, which is the stop command. It's built into Yarn Spinner. It just stops all dialogue. I'm not going to do it because we'd have to go back through this conversation. You're going to get sick of this conversation in the next 20 minutes. So I'm going to continue. Here we go. Daisy's going to ask, would you like to learn my tragic backstory, trademark? And we can choose yes or absolutely not. And this is showing you a bit of a derivative on the jump command. So if you look down here on the left, for the people in Discord, the backstory node says, would you like to learn my tragic backstory? It has an option for yes or no. And if we say yes, we detour to a node. Now, a detour is a new feature to Yarn Spinner 3. So if you've played with Yarn Spinner 4, you may not have seen this one. Detours are like jump commands, except they're return. So you could think of a detour like a jump and return. So detour will take you to the tragic backstory node. And then when that node has finished executing, or when it hits a return statement, which is just like the stop statement, but says return, it will take you back to where it came from. So you can use this for interesting detours, basically. We spent more time talking with our community about what we should call this feature than making the feature. We settled on detour. If you have opinions, keep them to yourself. Jump and return was the other one, but it doesn't, like, detour, a single word is nicer, so yeah. So look, if we go, we would like to see the tragic backstory here. And again, I'm zooming on the bottom right for the Discord people. I'm going to go yes. It's going to jump to node tragic backstory. It's going to say, where story begins when I was born at a very young age, and tragically I became a narrative game developer, a fate befitting no human. And that's it, really. Oh, well, guess time for more learning. So you'll see here, we went through the tragic backstory, and then we jumped back to backstory. So you'll see here, tragic backstory has no jump commands out of it. It has nothing inside it beyond the tragic, incredibly tragic backstory. So we moved from here, when we said yes, to here, and then we came back up to here. Very good. And if we said absolutely not, they would have also said, oh, well, I guess it's time for more learning, which is exactly the same thing they said when we returned. And then we jumped to more learning. Everyone with me so far? Great. I love talking to Americans. You respond. When you speak in Australia, if you say, is everyone with me so far, people will just cross their fingers. Sometimes they'll be like, fuck you, mate. And like, no. No. Australians do not respond. Yes, I would much feel, please call me as many curse words as you can think of. Yeah. Yeah, I feel at home. So here we're going to declare a variable that's not the name. We're going to declare money. So it says, you look like you only have $2 and some options. And we do that on the left here. We're saying declare money to as number. You don't have to put the type. Yarn Spinner supports strings, booleans, and numbers. You don't have to put the type. Yarn Spinner will figure it out, but it is type checked. Once you've created a variable of a certain type, you can't start assigning it to a different type. For the programmers in the room, yes, you can cast it and change its type, but we're not going to go there today. So please don't try and assign numbers to strings and so on. You can get strings out of numbers if you need to display them and stuff, but you don't need to do that if you're just interpolating. It will just work. So we're declaring money as 2. And then Daisy says, so it looks like you only have money, dollars. We do support some like pluralization features, which you can look in the doc. So like, we can make it say you only have $1, $2, and you can do that in the line, but I'm not doing that here because it's just a little bit fiddly. In response, you can say yes, alas, and well, and we jump to an even more learning node, or you can ask for more, where the narrator considers to give you more and then sets your money to money plus 50. So that's giving you 50 money. No idea. Money. And then you say, hey, I've got this many money now, thanks. So I'm going to actually ask for more money. So I'm going to say, give me more. The narrator's going to consider it and then say, fine, there you go. And you'll see down here the variable tracking pane in try updates. And you go, oh, nice, I got $52 now. And that's coming from this line over here. Oh, nice, I've got money dollars now, thanks. Great so far. Next, we're going to get to something slightly more fiddly. This is another new feature for Yarn Spinner 3. This is pretty straightforward, and there's two parts of this feature. The first part to this feature. Can you tell I've been traveling a long way? Yeah. What's a mile? I don't know. We don't know. Science cannot tell us. Yarn Spinner has a feature that we implemented in response to this kind of fad slash academic domain of storylets in video game narratives. So if anyone's ever read any blog posts about storylets from various people who write too many words on the topic, Kat Manning, for example, amongst many others, storylets and saliency systems are a way to give your games and stories more life by allowing them to dynamically go off in different directions. This concept is not new. It's been around for decades. It comes and goes. Implementation styles and patterns come and go. We've just jumped onto the current way of referring to it, which is storylets and saliency. And one part of our storylets and saliency system is line groups. So if you see here, this even more learning node has a bunch of things that kind of look like options, but start with an equal sign instead of a dash. And these are line groups. So any block of lines that's not blocked by something else. So for example, these three, because there's a regular option in between. So you see there's three line groups and then an option. These three are a line group of their own because they're glommed together. And the way we think about these is these are options that the computer picks. So if you have a block of these, it will randomly pick one for you. So you can add some really basic variety to your story by using line groups to make it spit out a random line at certain points. So for example, here we could have got 3 variations on the narrator basically telling you the same thing. And we got, which one did we get? Yarn Spinner can choose a line for you using line groups. So we got that one. So we got the first one. But we could have got any of the other ones. And then the O option is delivered, which I click. And the narrator says, yes, it's very useful. And then we have an option group of 2 more options. Line group of 2 more options. This line group has a condition on the end of one of the lines. You'll see here. So if we actually ask that narrator for more money earlier, this line group is available. And that condition will evaluate, and then the thing will say, well, the most useful line group line to display right now is the one with the condition. And you can put any condition you like at the end of the line. So you can make this quite complicated. So we'll probably get that one, yeah. So yeah. Yes. I'm going to give you a 2-part answer. Yes and no. Yes, you can live edit it, but it will restart the run on the right. So that's a limitation of this particular runner. If you do it in our VS Code runner, that limitation is not always there, but it is in some circumstances. We are working on that because it would be nice to be able to live edit it. So check for an update in about a month. But currently no, but very soon yes. Line groups can have conditions. So you're seeing this one because money is greater than 50. It's time to learn about node groups. Now node groups is the one where everyone just, yeah.
Just available and it's still flip a coin, or is it more likely to pick that one?
Can I get back to that in a minute? The answer is yes to all of the above, but I'll show you in a second. If you remember that command I told you to ignore at the very top, that was setting the saliency strategy for how it picks these things, yeah, which I'll come back to. So a node groups is the second part of our saliency and storylet system, which is the one that you either get immediately or you sit there going, what the fuck have they put this in there for? This makes no sense. Sorry for swearing. Can I swear? I don't know. I never asked. Okay, great. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Node groups. I didn't get them at first. When we were working on this, I was like, I don't understand this at all. It makes no sense. But I finally did, and I'll show you. So node groups are like line groups. Oh yeah, so we actually skipped something here because we didn't roll well, actually. Look at that. There's a whole node which we jumped to, which declared a dice as a number storing 0 in it, then rolled a dice with a inbuilt dice function. If we rolled a 6, it said, you rolled a 6. Then we continued, but we didn't obviously roll a 6. We rolled a 2. So alas, let's look at node groups. So node groups are like line groups, but work with nodes. So a node group is a collection of nodes that share the same name and then have a condition on them. So if you look here, we just ran this node, which is just explain what they are, and then we detoured into a node group demo node. So we detoured into a node named node group demo, but the dirty secret is node group demo is actually a collection of nodes that have the same name. So node group demo has a node where the condition is once, always, and gold greater than 50. And you can have as many node groups as you like. And you can have as many when, so I can add more when something, whatever, on each one. And the saliency system will pick the most relevant one to jump into based on the conditions that you've set for the node. Always is kind of a fallback one, so you should probably always have an always node just for testing reasons. Once will only be able to just run once. One thing I didn't tell you before is you can always put once at the end of a line to only have it ever displayed once. That's just a condition you can do. Very useful. But node groups are a way you can basically make your world more alive by creating a whole bunch of conditional things that can happen under certain circumstances. And I'll get back to that in a second if I have time. I've actually restarted the compilation you'll see there because I edited it. It doesn't matter because we're at the end. So That's everything for the very basics. I'm going to jump into Unity and show you a little bit more in the next final 10 minutes. Do you have a question?
Those names like randomly generated.
Yes, it will generate the node group names under the hood for you. Functionally, you are looking at one node. Under the hood, it's making a whole bunch of nodes with random character with like a UDID on the end. Yeah. So we came to narrative game development through computer science. So the entire team has PhDs in proper computer science, and that is a curse and a blessing in that we over-engineer everything, but it usually is quite interesting. So complicated background. Let's try Yarn Spinner showing you this thing. I'm just going to jump into something else very briefly to show you how this works in Visual Studio Code. Ooh, I'm looking at myself. Here we go. This is VS Code showing you the same script that we were just looking at. It's exactly the same Yarn script. It's just a .yarn file on disk. It's a text file. You can diff it. You can share it. You can edit it together. It's great. There's no JSON. Thank God. There's no XML. There's no binary files. It's just a text file. This is our Visual Studio Code extension. It supports a graph view, which a lot of people like. And you'll see here, you can zoom. Oh, that's not fun to do on this trackpad, is it? Very slowly zoom into things. You can move them around. You can select them and move them around. You can add little bars to them. You'll see over here, I've got color green. So I can do color yellow or whatever. So you can, mark things. I've actually just marked the start of the script as green and the end. Ooh, it zooms out fast. No, okay, whatever, it works now. Great, love it. And the end is red. If something is in a node group, it draws a box around it. You can also group nodes. So if I wanted to group the start node, hello, with another node, we can go group, hello, and then I'll draw a box around those as well. These are just nice things for you to separate your story out into easy bits and pieces. Your story doesn't have to be in one yarn file. It can be across multiple yarn files, but the graph view will only show the current file. So if you use VS Code, which I suggest you graduate to pretty quickly, try is mostly for demoing or very quickly learning the basics. VS Code is the way you actually do it. You can, once the extension's installed, you can push Command-Shift-P, which is just a feature of VS Code, and you get a bunch of things. So preview dialog is running the same engine that you saw running it in Try on the web. You can export it as an HTML file. So you can go, hey, I need this file to be downloaded. It's saved a thing to my downloads. Now if I open it in Chrome, it's just a file. You can email that thing around. Completely self-contained, completely offline. Not really like Ink or Twine. It's not designed to make a thing that you share as like a beautiful visual story. It's just designed so you can share your story around with your team as you're working on it. We are working on some stuff so you can make nice HTML players and stuff. Or you can hack apart this and probably make it pretty, but that's not what it's for. You'll see there's a drop down over here, so you can start at a different node if you want, which is useful. And you can change the settings over here to show unavailable options. So if an option is not available by virtue of a condition on it, you can make it show it visible. You can show that variable pane at the bottom, and you can also make all the lines appear at once instead of until you hit an option. You can also change the saliency strategy, which is the built-in saliency strategies are first, best, random, best least recently seen, or random best least recently seen. You can see what all those mean on our docs, which is docs.yarnspinner.dev. I'm not going to go through them now. If you bring your stuff into a game engine, you can also set your own saliency strategy through C# or whatever engine you're using that dictates how your nodes are viewed. So that's, the other thing I'll quickly show you. If you're building like a big, serious video game that needs like voiceover and stuff, inside here, you can export your dialogue as a recording spreadsheet. And that will give me an Excel file, which has line tags. So you can automatically pass that to a VO Studio, a localization studio, whatever you need, and it'll just magically work. So you'll see what it's done is it's tagged each line. So it will automatically start applying tags like that to the lines once you start voiceover. And you shouldn't then change those tags because it'll mismatch the lines. But this makes it very easy to localize. One of the biggest things we've heard about our differences from Ink, because superficially we're quite similar to Ink. Philosophically, I think Ink is better if your game is entirely dialogue. So if your game doesn't have any other mechanics and is like 80 days, like the classic Ink game, I think Ink is a great fit for that. I think philosophically we're better if your game has dialogue as one of several other mechanics, or one mechanic of your game. That's me, but opinions may vary. You can kind of do both things with both. We are better for localization and voiceover and translation, though, by far. Ink is a nightmare for that in my experience as a game developer personally. I hope they improve because it would be nice to have more options. So my final 5 minutes, I'm just going to show you Unity briefly. Yeah, so to do this in Unity, you just install the Yarn Spinner plugin, which I've already done. It takes a second. You can either buy it, which is a way of supporting us, or get the free one off GitHub, whatever's easier for you. If you can afford it, we'd appreciate that because we're a 4-person team plus 2 dogs, and those dogs get expensive. Once it's installed, you can add a Yarn Spinner dialog system to your scene, which is just like our default prefab. It kind of does everything. It'll complain about Text Mesh Pro because that's basically what Unity does. This thing is now in the scene. The only thing you need to do over here is assign it a yarn project, which is a collection of scripts, and then it will just work. So if I go in here and make a new yarn spinner project, call it demo project. So if you don't know Unity, don't worry about it. Smile and nod. That's what I do. I've been using Unity for 18 years. Demo project. So I've just made an empty yarn file in Unity, and I'm going to paste the project, the script we were just filling with in there and save it. Okay. So now I have a script in Unity as a .yarn file. It's just an asset. And I have a demo project, which is a special kind of yarn asset that lets you localize things and set the base language and so on. And it's pointed to it by virtue of the fact it's pointed to all yarn scripts next to it and below it. Then I'm going to click this dialog system prefab and drag in that demo project. I dragged in the wrong thing because, yes, I am a fool. Yeah, clicking on tiny trackpad. So you'll see I've assigned the demo project to this dialog runner, which we just dragged into the scene. And now I'm going to save that and click play. Unity's probably going to crash. Who knows? Oh, I didn't click start automatically. I'm a fool. There we go. I have to click this start automatically. And you'll see it knows about the nodes in there. It can tell the start node. And then I click play. Right. And now it's automatically playing it in a thing which supports controllers and all sorts of input and nice things. And it's exactly the same experience you got earlier, but now it's inside Unity. And that's how easy it is. So, boop, 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 boop. We can get to the options. Options, there's the options, right? Very straightforward. That's a really ugly default dialog view. It's not ugly, it's very simple. You know, dialog views can be anything from like the speech bubble, things above people's heads in Nut in the Woods, to like a Mass Effect style dialog wheel, to whatever you like. And conceptually, when we do voiceover, that's also a dialog view that just plays an asset based on the line tag at the end of a line. So I have 4 minutes left. If anyone has a question, I can happily answer it while I'm talking. Otherwise, I'll just show you a random demo. Yeah.
Like how are the choices in the dialogues that the dialogue system produces consequential for growth of the program? Like how does it, you said a variable in the art spinner.
Yes. You can read and write variables both ways. So you can talk in both directions. You can also expose functions from your game engine scripting language.
Hello?
This guy's speaking.
Is anyone there?
Hi there.
You can talk both ways. So anything exposing yarn spinner can be read from C# in the example and vice versa. You can also tag certain scripts, tag certain functions or methods in your C# scripts as available in yarn, which is how you get those commands. The ones you're seeing like stop and all that are basically built-in commands, but you can provide whatever commands you like. While this is technically a narrative language, we see lots of games orchestrating their entire experience with this, like Dredge orchestrated a lot of its experience with yarn. Demon School orchestrates its entire battle scenes with yarn. It's very common that everyone uses this as a gameplay scripting language because you don't need to be a game engine programmer or a user of Unity or Unreal or whatever to work with this. And it integrates very nicely. Yeah. Yes, yes. Technically you could, but you wouldn't want to have one project calling a node another project, but you could do that. You'd probably want to orchestrate that connection some other way than calling the node, but you could technically do it, yes. A really good example of using, I'll stop that for a second and open this, even though I only have like a second left. Oh, maybe I closed it. No, it's there. Okay, so background chatter is a really great example of that. The whole team played Baldur's Gate and got really excited about it. Baldur's Gate 3. We played Baldur's Gate 2 years ago and got excited about that too. And thought that we should make a demo. So for example, we made a bunch of stuff that shows off the fact that there's this scene. I'm going to ignore the little rooms. You can download, this is all free as part of our demos. This is just our sample pack. If you go in here, you'll see there's a bunch of dialogue runners running to do. So each thing is effectively a project. Like there's people shouting things in the background and then there's people you can talk to. So if I stop this guy somehow. If I catch up to this guy on my tiny keyboard, oh, no, I'm stuck. If I catch up to this guy and interrupt him, nope. He speaks. I promise you, he speaks. He's got a dialogue runner and will kick me into like a proper conversation overlay and stop walking and talk to me. And then when he's done, he'll go back to running his bark dialogue runner, which makes him shout things over his head. I missed him again. Anyway, I got like 1 minute. Does anyone have any other questions?
Curious what the format was. Unity is reading. What is it? Is it
It's compiled. So the yarn spinner is compiling it into a protobuf based format, which is then read. So it's very efficient under the hood and very sensible. There's no JSON here. People keep asking us for JSON. If somebody can tell me in this comments why we should put JSON in, we will put JSON in. But nobody's given us a good reason yet. Basically, that's it. Yeah, it's protobuf under the hood. I think I've run out of time. If you like choose your own adventure books, you can go to books.yarnspinner.dev and make PDFs that automatically link and generate all the pages for you, which is super fun. That was an April Fool's joke that got out of hand. Take a photo. There's all the links. Thank you very much. I'm speaking tomorrow about something else that's cool.